Thank you very much for the kind introduction, and thank you, Avneeta, for inviting me and for this entire opportunity to share my thoughts about leadership. I don't have a PowerPoint. For sure. And I also know that this is a post-lunch session, so I've also planned for all of us to get up and get out and do something and then come back and talk about it. Yeah. So we're not going to sit here for the next 10 or 15 minutes. To be able to, this is a large group with a lot of diversity, which is useful to do this activity. So what I'm going to do is quickly ask you to count from 1 to 3. And please remember your number. In case you have a short-term memory problem, please write it down so that you don't forget it, because it's important. And those of you who have asked to help me during this activity, there's Pratik, there is Ravi, there is Neera, there's Akanksha. Please don't count, yeah? Don't count out numbers, because you're not going to be part of the activity. So very quickly, we'll start counting from you, please. Just go around the table and do it as quickly as you can. No. So 1, 2, 3. That's where the counting ends today. Okay? 3. If you want to participate. Anyone who doesn't want to participate does not count.
1, 2, 3, 2, 3, 1.
3.
Blindfold. And I hope the photograph is not it's not tight enough.
Okay, that's too much. Of course it will be tight.
Oh yeah, I made it double now. I can't see anything of the opening line.
But don't please make your blindfold such that you can see. Right? So I think you can see, I think you can see. So can you please redo it?
100% honesty.
No, you please don't have to see.
Honesty. Blindfold also.
It's me, Hari. Excuse me, ma'am. You have to make a puff.
Who has the rope? Just say rope. Okay, whoever has the rope, shout rope.
Rope is here in my hand. But
Okay, rope is
Group 3, give me
Who's having the rope? Okay. Okay.
We can then make a square out of round.
Okay, 1 minute, 1 minute.
Can we just come together? Group 3, please come forward.
Okay, everybody, hey, hold on, guys. Okay, somebody take one hand. Okay, one hand, you're A. Just say A. Okay. Wait. Okay, everybody from group 3, come here. Follow my voice.
Who has a rope?
I have the rope with me.
Again.
Who has the rope? I have it here. Do you have the rope? I have the rope.
Come on, scream, who has the rope?
Hold the rope. Take 2 steps back.
There's no corner.
Where's your rope?
I went towards.
How many do we have? 23? 24.
किधर है रोप? ये क्या रोप? 32.
Who's this?
32.
32, 33, 33.
34 is the last number.
34 is the last. Can we open up blindfolds now?
Okay, now.
Did you enjoy the activity? Yes. Okay, quickly. I'd like you to take 2 minutes and write in your notebooks answers to the following 2 very simple questions. How satisfied you are, and you can do it in 3. I'm low satisfied, I'm medium satisfied, and I'm high satisfied. So whatever your reasons might be, just write low, medium, or high. Just rate your own satisfaction with the task. No, with the task, right? With the square that you made, with the outcome or with the process, whatever it is, you participated in an activity, you ended up doing something, how satisfied you are with the outcome. Okay, that's one. And the second question I want you to think about or quickly jot down your answers to are, what were your feelings during the 5 minutes or maybe before that as well? Yeah? And what helped you and what was very, very, what was not very helpful for you? Whatever it might be. Oops. Right? Quickly. You don't have to think too much. There aren't right or wrong answers. I just want you to write down your top of the mind responses to each of these. What helped you? Yeah? And what did? Okay. How many of you wrote high satisfied? Can you just raise your hand? Nicely. I have to be able to count. At every table, there's one at this table, there's 1 or 2 at this table, and 1 at this table, 1. And very few satisfied people in this group. Is that what you're saying? Okay. How many of you are low satisfied? Low satisfied. Much more than the highest. And the rest are all medium, I guess. Yeah? Can the people who raise their hand for high in that blindfolded? Which they called a square but wasn't a square, right? Some made, only half the group made the square and the other half was doing what I don't know. Yeah? And in the other group, there was one person who was definitely not touching the rope. His excuse was that he was really, directing the entire group, but he wasn't part of the process. And therefore, though you had something that looked like a square, but one of the conditions was not met, that everybody had to be touching the rope and everybody had to be part of the square. Yeah? So, even irrespective of whether any group reached the outcome or not, you can see there are different satisfaction levels with the outcome in the group, irrespective of what the outcome was. Would you agree with this?
instructions were not clear. You didn't know what you had to do. So you did, for the entire 5 minutes, you were confused.
No, we had to ask each other what.
You had to ask each other. Yeah, okay. What, and that is dissatisfying that you're
No,
talking
in a
to
sense, when instructions were given,
Right,
we said we can't hear.
Right.
It didn't come our end because
Oh.
the plant is very far away.
Right.
Nobody came, even after we said we don't know what we have to do.
correct,
And we
correct.
just followed what you were being
And
asked
that
to
is
do.
dissatisfying is what you
Yeah,
said.
of course.
Yeah? To follow is dissatisfying.
Not to
No,
know.
I'm not. All right.
You got me wrong. You got me wrong.
Yeah,
Not knowing what one has to do.
sure. Not knowing what you don't know made you dissatisfied.
Particularly
Absolutely.
instructions are to be given.
Absolutely. Yeah. What's that? You weren't clear on the plan.
Yeah, lack of strategy, you already knew you were failing.
Yeah? You couldn't hear each other. So there was lots of chaos. There was lots of chaos. Didn't know who has the rope, didn't know what is happening. Other dissatisfied people?
Yeah, so there was lack of strategy, so you already knew you were failing. There was no way to see, and there was lack of information.
Couldn't
So,
see, didn't have the resources, lack of clarity. Yes? Okay? Different people, different instructions. Who gave those different instructions?
I was blindfolded, so I couldn't hear. I could only hear people.
You could only hear different instructions
From
being given
different
by
people.
whom?
I do not know.
Your own group members?
Sounded like human voices, but
Oh, I see. Yes, of course. Yes? Ma'am?
Yeah, I felt lost and lonely. For a moment, I felt I was the only one standing there blindfolded.
Okay.
I did not follow any instructions, but I could only feel people around standing and laughing there. That's it.
Okay, so it was completely alienating kind of an activity for you. Okay, others who felt low, there were quite a few hands that said low.
It was a little chaotic. At the same time, I felt that nobody was reading.
Nobody
We
was
were all
reading.
waiting for instructions.
You were waiting for instructions. Yes. Others? One more and then we'll move on to the next. Yes. You didn't know where the rope was? Okay. Okay. So it was kind of, what kind of an activity it is. You don't give us good instructions, you don't give us material, you create chaos and you blindfold us. I can't hear, I can't see, I can't do all this and then you expect me to make a rope. Of course I'm going to be dissatisfied. Okay, what else? You said a sense of helplessness. Yeah? Anxiety, helplessness. What am I doing? What is happening to me? What if all that? Okay. Yet there were some people who were highly satisfied. Why were you highly satisfied? Why were you highly satisfied?
I at least was highly satisfied because everyone in the group seemed to be trying to do their best.
Okay. Okay.
There were lots of contradictory
Okay.
advice, but
Okay.
you could see that everyone yes, trying to grasp right or wrong. That makes me feel very good. That's
Right.
right.
So you're saying I'm satisfied because there was some effort, some movement happening in that direction.
Towards that same goal.
In that goal.
So that was a really nice feeling that we're
Okay.
all trying in the
Perfect.
dark, we're all trying
Okay.
together.
That's what you're feeling. Yes.
I'm dissatisfied because in my group we had a pretty good strategy of making the square. We gave ourselves numbers and we were like, we divide by 4 and after this number we make a corner. But ultimately when we opened up there was only one proper corner made.
Oh, so there were instructions that weren't followed.
Yeah.
Yeah, by some of these people. Yeah? Okay. Other high satisfied? Yes.
So I felt because
I'll come to you next.
we started the process,
Yes.
right?
Yeah.
Right? So the process is as important, if not more important than the outcome. Because if you get the process right, chances are that you get the outcome right more often than not.
Okay.
And we were there. We were 75% down the right process.
Okay.
Where we managed to find the two ends, we managed to make sure that the same person had them, we kind of managed to make sure that all the people were on the right side of the rope, everybody was touching it, well except me. But, what also helped, thankfully for me, is I have a loud voice, so I was able to shout out. So for the first minute or so, there were random instructions coming from all over, but thankfully I managed to shout them down. So gave some kind of
What you're saying is,
unity or whatever that.
if I can paraphrase what you're saying is I felt satisfied because I had a role to play and I was able to do something. Yeah?
More than get the process started right.
Sure, I'm not, there's no judgment, I'm just paraphrasing what you're saying. Yes, ma'am. Okay.
He did the trick, but it helped me compose myself and I could center myself. So that was one feeling where I was with myself, but I could hear a whole lot of activity behind. And also I knew there's going to be a process that needs to be started. I had very good left and right sides where I could hold hands and I got that support. And the support was there throughout and also with the instructions that yes, now we had numbers. So we had numbers and we were making
So you
those
felt
perpendiculars.
supported, you felt you had
Yes.
a part to play, you felt you were able to overcome something that
Yes,
was
yes,
personal issue
yes,
for you.
yes.
Wonderful. Okay, any other last one voice from the high? Yes.
Yeah, I was satisfied because it was just good fun to be outdoors after lunch.
Okay.
And, it was nice to be not sort of watching a presentation,
Sure.
but doing something. And
Sure.
frankly, I didn't care about the outcome. I was happy to be doing
okay.
it.
Perfect. You want to say something?
Okay, I felt that, though everybody was blindfolded and we were a little apprehensive, we can't see anything, there's commotion. Somehow we managed to get ourselves together and work together, form a strategy, even if we didn't get things out.
Right.
At least we tried to work together and we
Sure.
made it a little.
So despite all the constraints that were there was some progress, there was some outcome in the whole process. Okay, now do you see this as and I'm sorry I'm not going to be able to hear all of you, but just very quickly, do you see this as a very fascinating thing that irrespective of the outcome, irrespective of the group that you belong to, for this particular task, outcome, process, none seem to be, we are able to put our finger on to say what defined satisfaction for people. In fact, each person to some extent had their own parameters for what they felt satisfied or dissatisfied about. Would you agree? Yeah? It's a curious kind of a thing because mostly people know I'm satisfied if this happens, I'm satisfied if this happens, but yet in this particular task, irrespective of what happened, every person has their own reason for why and how they felt satisfied or dissatisfied, right? And one of the things, and I don't have time to, bring to get us to all, possibly see the pattern, but I often see in this particular task that if I had a role to play, if I was able to somehow understand what to do, right? Even if it was to hold somebody else's hand and feel secure, or if it was to call out numbers, or it was to follow an instruction, if I could understand what to do, if I was involved and engaged, I felt satisfied most often. And if I was completely alienated, lost, overwhelmed, taken by what is happening, if I felt confused, angry, why is she not giving us good instructions, what is all of this, then I felt very dissatisfied with the whole process. Would you agree? Does that sit right with you in what has been talked about? Now, what is possibly much more interesting about this task is that this task, and I will ask you this, does it in any way represent reality? Yeah? How does it represent reality? How does it represent reality? That is how our educators feel. They feel they're blindfolded.
You're given a problem to which you don't have a solution and you have to craft one yourself.
Correct. You are given a problem to which you don't have a solution and it has to be crafted. Yeah. What else? And sometimes there are lots of constraints. Right? Your constraints are in terms of your eyesight being taken away, time as a constraint, one rope, and so on and so forth.
Also, I think the level of satisfaction per person differs.
Yes.
So that's the reality. I mean, what satisfies me may not satisfy
So different people have different tags as to why they will feel satisfied, motivated, involved, engaged in the task. That is also a reality. What else?
So what I noticed was, I'm sorry, it's just me now.
Yes.
What I noticed was that a lot of people were dissatisfied by the lack of leadership, even though they were as empowered to be leaders in this situation as anyone else. So that bystander effect was, it stood out.
Right. So a lot of people were like, you tell me what to do. Yeah. I am completely anxious. I am completely lost. If somebody were to tell me to do something, then I would possibly do something. But that's not a guarantee. When I'm told, I don't necessarily do it. Yeah. I still sit and evaluate, is this the right thing to do? Why should I do it? And so on and so forth. But yes, there is that expectation, and that also causes dissatisfaction. There was a hand up. I'll come to you.
And a lot of noise, both internally and externally.
Yes. Yes. There's a lot of noise internally and externally, both metaphorically, literally, and all of that, right? Yes.
And also, in reality, most of the outcome is not achieved, but a lot of reasonable reasons are given.
Yeah. Or the outcome per se cannot be at the outset said that this, if I reach this outcome, this is sufficient. In fact, the process is also important. Yeah. Because in for example, in group 2, they possibly could have made a square if given 2 minutes more, with but half the group. The other half would have been excluded completely because they weren't anywhere near the rope and they weren't even searching for the rope. Yeah? So they were making a square without a rope. Yeah? So that also happens, right? People have different things that they think is the outcome in the whole process.
There are too many.
Yeah.
I was happy to be blind.
You were happy to be blind?
Shut my ears. I said, this is too chaotic.
Yeah, yeah. So sometimes I'm so overwhelmed that the only thing I can do is withdraw. Yeah? Okay.
There were too many people giving too many instructions.
Yes, yes, because everybody is absolutely anxious and thinks that they know exactly what the solution is and all of that. One more and then I will move on. Yes.
It's like to me that intrinsic motivation and extrinsic motivation to get the outcome.
Okay. Okay. Let me characterize crime.
Are we done?
Yeah. Can I move on? You want to say something? Since you have a loud voice.
Yeah. I mean, this is very similar to, I've been working in the corporate life for 12, 15 years now. This is very similar to that. You only think you have control, but you actually have control over nothing. You don't have control over your co-workers, where they come from, what their mentality is going to be, what they want to do. Everybody has individual goals, and you have to achieve something at the end of it for the greater good. And how do you manage to guide all these, get over your illusion of control and kind of just at least get the process going, build the road for people to walk on.
Yeah, yeah. And
it's very similar to life.
Yeah, and I don't want to make all work sound so pessimistic, but I think there is a class of problems that we all face, and I'm just conjecturing it for you, see if it makes sense. There's a class of problems that we all face for which there is no one solution. It's an ambiguous problem. On the face of it, the problem is not difficult. I'm sure nobody in this room does not know how to make a square with a rope. Yeah? It's not a difficult problem. It's not a complicated problem. Yeah? It's not building a rocket out of some 130 parts. It's actually making a square with a rope. Yeah? Which is something that we all know. But where the complexity for this comes from is the fact that there are possibly 30 ways in which we can make this square. Yeah? There are possibly as many ways as there are people in this room, or not people in the room, but people in the group that you could possibly make this square. And each of those ways would be valid. Yeah? So it's an ambiguous problem, it's a complex problem, and the reality also is that if one of you knew how to make the square, you by yourself, even if you gave all the best directions, you couldn't have built the square until and unless everybody was involved. Yeah, you get my point? Yeah? These are the kinds of problems that don't come every time. Fortunately, there are some problems which are complicated, which are technical, for which there is a solution. You can get an expert to help you with it, and you can tell the solution and you can get people to solve it. Yeah? But unfortunately or fortunately for us, there are also complex problems which are ambiguous, which require people to have involvement, and part of the complexity comes from the fact that people have different motivations, people have different goals, people have different understanding of what the solution has to be, and people also are very, very anxious because they don't know what to do. Yeah? There's anxiety that is also attached to some of these problems. My contention is that all of us, yeah, when we are faced with such problems, are actually also given an opportunity to act like a leader. Yeah? And I actually choose my words fairly carefully. I'm saying act like a leader. I am wanting to take away this entire belief that leadership is a role, it's a status, it's a position, that it is something that you earn as you go up in the organization, it is something that you're born with, or a leader has all the answers. I want to take away all those wrongs. At least I want you to think about it. Yeah? In fact, leadership is an act that you actually get involved in. You could choose to. At the time when you're faced with a rope-like problem. Rope-like problem is a metaphor for an ambiguous, complex problem for which nobody in the group has a solution. Yeah? And even if you did have a solution, that solution is incomplete because if it doesn't take people along, the solution is basically not the right solution for us to work with. So the task for a leader at that point of time is not to have the solution. Yeah? It is not to say, look, I know, please listen, you do it for me. Yeah? Because the moment you say, there are some people who will say, this is too much chaos, let me just keep quiet, I'm not going to do anything. Yeah? There are some people who will say, how does she know she has the solution? I also have a solution. I'm going to try, okay, let her say whatever she says, and when she stalls, then only I will talk. Yeah? Or at other times, people are so anxious that they are just looking for, is there somebody who will tell me what to do? Can I hold a hand? That is all that I need to. And in fact, each person will be comfortable with different things, and it is not a trait thing. Yeah? I'm not saying these are people who are like that. But in that solution, in that context, in that problem, that is what their need is, or that is what their stance is going to be. A leader is somebody who at that time facilitates the group to get over the anxiety of not knowing and get the group to do its own work. That is, find the solution that they need to find. It may not be the best, perfect solution, but it is a solution that they are going to be committed to. Does that make sense to you? Yeah? Which means, I am not, as a leader, going to be the senior most. I am not the one who is going to have the most white hair. I am not the one who has the loudest voice. I am not the one who has the highest authority. I am not the one who has the corner office. I am not the one who has the most number of degrees. None of that. In fact, I am a leader. I emerge as a leader at that point of time because I am able to do some of these following things. I am able to listen to that voice which is the most feeble. You get my point? Because there are, when we are all faced with this situation, there are feeble voices. There are people saying, what are we doing? What is happening? What shall we do? They don't want to say it loudly because they don't want to look foolish. But their anxiety is as real as anybody else's. That person who is able to help this person to come along is acting like a leader. Yeah? That person who's facilitating the group to hold its anxiety. And the metaphor or the example that I often use for this is, acts like a pressure cooker. You know what a pressure cooker does? It allows the steam to build. It doesn't say, upfront, no, steam is dangerous, let us not have steam build, because if steam builds, there is going to be an accident. It allows the steam to build. That anxiety is necessary. If I did not have any anxiety, I would not put any energy in solving the problem. Yeah? I need that anxiety to build, but when I act like a leader, I also know when this anxiety is becoming dysfunctional. Yeah? The goodness of a pressure cooker is that it also knows when to release the steam. Yeah? So I become a holder of the anxiety rather than the one who provides solutions for the anxiety. I'm not cooking the food, I'm not putting the content, I'm just holding the anxiety. And the better I hold it, the more there is a possibility that the group will keep working on what needs to be done. You get my point?
Yes.
Does that make sense to you?
Yes.
In fact, if we look at it in that context, leaders are not people. Yeah, I want to take that away. You're not born as a leader. You're not given a role as a leader. Yeah? But leaders are those who at this time when there is an adaptive problem, when there is a complex problem, when people need to be involved, are able to facilitate the group to do its own work. Find the solution. Find what needs to be done to find the solution. A leader is somebody who is possibly comfortable with the not knowing rather than comfortable with knowing. Yeah? We've done some research very recently with a doctoral student, and the only thing we've looked at is what do people do when they don't know? Yeah? And it's very interesting. People put up facades, they use rhetoric, they hide, they make sure nobody figures out what they don't know. What happens as a result of not knowing is nobody's problem. Yeah? Because the discourse in our context is, you are good if you know. What I'm saying as a leader, it's just the opposite. You are good if you're comfortable with not knowing. Yeah? If you're comfortable with being in a situation where you can say, I don't know, maybe you also don't know, but together we can possibly find a solution. Yeah? In a school, whether you're talking teacher level, principal level, student leadership level, there will be situations for which you should know the solution. There's no doubt about it. All problems are not somewhere where we have to call a town hall and figure out the solution. In fact, if you do that, you're wasting time. Yeah? You shouldn't be doing that. And typically in our parlance, we call that, those are managerial roles, managerial problems. These are complicated problems, but there is a known solution, and all you have to do is find out the solution, give people roles to do, get them to do it, and move on with it. But all our problems are not complicated, they are not technical. In fact, life is made more interesting because there are complex, sudden, ambiguous problems which come with no definition, they come with no outcomes and possibly no instructions. You have some wide, vague outline of, okay, we need to solve this. Yeah? And the interesting part of many of these solutions is that unless everybody in the group is involved, you can reach a solution, but that solution is suboptimal. So getting involvement of the people is another leadership skill. Yeah? And one who can do it at that point of time emerges as a leader. Sometimes we will not emerge as a leader. I might have great skills, I might have a whole lot of past record of being a very good leader, but I will not emerge as a leader because at that point of time, either I am overwhelmed by the not knowing, or I can't handle the uncertainty, somebody else needs to. Yeah? At that point, if I have the position of a leader, can I have the graciousness to yield to the other person and say, you do, I follow. Does that make sense to you? Yeah? So, I have been talking about this for many years, and yet, when I meet some people later and talk about this again, people still are unable to get away from what I call the myth of leadership. Yeah, and the myth of leadership is our leader is our 70 hero. Yeah, who can do everything. Yeah, dance, sing, kill a few people, be really compassionate, do all of that. Yeah, so in fact, it has so much affected our thinking of how we think of leaders that when I'm in a leadership position, I'm almost saddled with having to be that 70 hero in real life. And I want us to move away from that because that's absolutely further away from truth as it can be. Yeah? There are times, leadership is about being able to handle and work with problems for which there is no one solution. It's ambiguous, it is sudden, it is new. For you it is new. Yeah? It's not like it has never happened in the world. It might have. But for you it is new, you have constraints, you have to do it, and then you also realize that the only resource you have is the group that is involved in it. How do I get this group to be part of it? How do I not get the group to resign? How do I not get the group to be so overcome by anxiety that they simply give up? How do I get the group to be not so dependent on me that I actually have to put a facade and say, look, I will tell you while I have no clue what I have to do. Yeah? And therefore I give in all kinds of wrong solutions. Does that make sense? Yeah? So it's not a 24/7 activity. Nobody is going to be a leader 24/7, thank God. Yeah? And nobody is going to be designated as a leader if we start thinking leadership in this position. We have terminology issues, we use everything for everything. So we will possibly call somebody a leader, but we don't really mean it. So it's not a noun, but it is a word. It is the doing, not the being. Does that make sense to you? Yeah? So maybe I'll stop here, invite questions, thoughts, comments, and then we'll possibly need to end it at some point. What have you? 5 minutes? Okay. Questions, comments, thoughts? Yes. I have done this with people who are visually impaired. The outcome is pretty much the same. Yeah? Because the time is a constraint, there's an outcome drivenness, everybody thinks we can do it. I was sharing it with one of my volunteers. One time I did this activity, and I will not name the organization, I'll not name it. The only thing I heard for 5 minutes was shut up. Everybody said shut up to everybody. Yeah? There's so much anxiety, then there's so much will to want to do this, that that's all I do. Yeah? And I've done it with visually impaired, I've done it with 6 people who know each other well, even then they are unable to do it sometimes. There are times when people are able to do it, but this one time I remember very clearly, 6 people, top management of the organization, the person I gave the rope to for the 5 minutes never said he had the rope. So the group decided there was no rope. Yeah, so they thought that the instructor must have been fooling around. Yes, sir.
So I completely, it makes a lot of sense to me that a leader is a person who's comfortable with the unknown. I'm just wondering, how does a leader build buy-in, especially at school level? Like, how does a principal build buy-in with teachers when, they're not sure exactly, where things are going, and teachers are kind of anxious, right? And
so the point is there will be somebody. So often what happens is the anxiety comes from not having articulated the problem. Yeah? And if you keep it a little ambiguous and you allow people to keep articulating it, someone will hit the nail on the head. And my experience is once the problem gets articulated, people find out ways to solve it. But the issue is about articulating the problem. And the leader, for some reason, or for any reason, is not more suited to articulating the problem. So therefore, this creating that space for several articulations to happen is the important thing. Yeah? And therefore, as a leader, when people are anxious, that's exactly the time I need to start facilitating rather than directing. Yeah? And when I facilitate, I allow different voices to emerge. And my job is to hold. Yeah? My job is to hold the discomfort, hold what is coming up for various things, and then maybe we will be able to do it.
Yeah, I was thinking, would this not be sometimes seen as weak leadership?
Of course, because we are tyrannized by the 70 hero. Yeah, everybody expects the hero to have, the leader to have that hero. Yeah, I think that is why we have to have this discourse more and more often to say a leader is not somebody who knows. A leader is not somebody who can do everything. Yeah, I'm not Superman. I'm not God. Yeah, if I'm a leader, I act like a leader when I can help you solve the problem. That's about it. Yeah. So I think it's a constant struggle that we all have to be with at this point of time. And honestly, I say this because last 10 years I've been having this conversation with different groups, and I don't think I made even a small dent in trying to take away the myth. Yeah. And the myth is so powerful. Yeah? The myth is so powerful. It's almost like a reality, but it is a myth. Yeah? Can you imagine that 70 hero to be a real person? Yeah? We all know it's not real, but when it comes to starting to think of a leader, when I get people to write down who is an ideal leader, they're basically describing somebody who's nothing short of God. Yeah? And in any other context, we would call that blasphemy. But in leadership context, all that is fine. Yeah, that will be okay. So that's part of our struggle. We all have to be with that discourse, and we all have to keep reinforcing that.
Wasn't this game perhaps went off so well without much of anxiety? Perhaps because that outcome wasn't really necessary.
Yes.
But in the world that we live in real life situations, I think outcomes are important, and that's what the world judges you that way. And how does then one act?
But the reality is that whether outcome is important or not, these kinds of problems have several possible outcomes. That outcome for you will get defined as the best when everybody was part of it. Yeah, I'm not saying therefore we can, be in a la-la land, we don't need to produce and we don't need to have. No, I'm not saying that. I'm saying, in fact, if I did facilitate, I would have an outcome which would be much closer to reality or much more bought in by others than if I were to direct it out of my head, well, I did not know the answer. That's the point I'm trying to make.
And since you're talking about that this myth is so difficult to dispel,
yes.
And since you've worked with so many different groups of people in this activity, I was just linking it up with this, what Ronan talked in the morning, this whole issue of vulnerability.
Yes.
And the fact that a lot of us were in levels of responsibility, don't want to seem vulnerable or show our vulnerability.
Very, very right. Such an interesting point. In fact, there is so much fear of vulnerability or fear of showing vulnerability. While the reality is that, would I be human if I wasn't vulnerable? Yeah, that's something we all know. But for somehow, for a leader, I'm not able to accept it.
One of the most powerful things I heard today was, as a leader, you need to be able to listen to the most feeble voice. And that is so similar to what they say, civilization is defined by the way they treat their weakest tribe, right?
Very right.
And I think there's a lot of humility that comes in. How do you then look at charismatic leadership as we all, we're looking at as the helm of the organization and the person who has to, the light bearer, the torch bearer, take you to where, where no man has gone before, versus that situational leadership, the doing bit of leadership and the now.
I would say charismatic leadership is one of those that feeds into the myth even more so.
It does, right?
It does. It feeds into that myth. And in any other context, if you were to look at any characteristics of charismatic, I would call them a crass salesperson. Yeah. But in leadership, I call it charismatic. Yeah. It's the whole thing about it, right? And if any other person said, I have visions, we would say, go to Agra, please, right? But in leadership, we are okay with that, right? You have visions. How do you have visions? How do you make sure you have visions? Yeah? So these are questions we need to start asking for ourselves.
So just quick 2 or 3 things which you feel that a leader should kind of, this is what a leader looks like.
No. I don't want to. Then it's about me.
While I transport the mic to the next question, there's a similar question I have.
The mic bearer cannot have right over asking questions.
Absolutely not. The someone hold precedence or?
But you can ask a question, I'm just joking.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I've often been asking the teachers during training whether they consider themselves leaders or not. You'll be surprised. None of them say, yeah, I look at myself as a leader. In their opinion, a principal, coordinator, vice principal, they're leaders. So how does one convince them that they are the actual ones who are leading a class of 30 people forward and the leader is within? So how does one help them find the leader within?
Let's choose, let's jump with this discourse about leader-follower roles. Let's talk about actions. Yeah? If the action that a teacher does, where she helps the class find a solution, or sometimes she's also an inquirer, because she also does not know the solution, or he also does not know the solution, that's a leadership act, right? So can we start thinking of it as opposite from position or role, but actions? Yeah? And if we start thinking of it as actions, we will then be able to possibly understand why even somebody whom I really, really respect and who was mentioned in the morning as Mahatma Gandhi could not be a leader in every situation. And the moment you expect somebody to be a leader in every situation, you've killed that person. Yeah? It's just not possible because we're not born or there's not these kinds of skills. Last question. We'll have to
So, we rarely face these kind of situations, but while facing these situations, if one knows that he is not going to be the leader, so how to identify the leader in that situation?
Perfect. We don't have to get into this whole thing of, okay, let us see who is the leader. That person who will be able to articulate for the group, this is what we are facing, will actually energize the entire group to solve the problem. I don't know if many of you remember, there was a Times of India ad some years ago where there was rain in Bombay and there was a huge tree that had fallen, and the politician gets picked up on the other side by the car, everybody standing criticizing the country and so on and so forth. This little boy, even younger than you, actually comes up and he starts, he looks at the tree and he starts pushing it. Yeah, he starts pushing it. He definitely doesn't have the energy to push the tree. But seeing him push the tree, the entire group that was standing there actually pushed the tree and cleared the way. So that boy is a leader, not because he has inhuman capacities, but he's able to articulate the problem that we can do it ourselves. And once he does it, the energy gets circulated for everyone in the group. You get my point? Yeah, last question. Yeah, sorry. Okay, should I stop? Yeah, we need to close? Okay, so I will say thank you very much and we can have our conversations later. I hope you enjoy.